order and establish a quorum, so, well, actually, we're not all board members are present, so.
Well, you have a quorum. You
I
have
guess
three
there's
of
four,
them.
yeah,
You
okay.
have three of the.
So we'll do Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's no one here for open forum or public input, so we'll skip that. Approve agenda, changes to agenda, I have none, so I just need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Pearl and second by Leishman to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
No conflicts of interest listed, so we'll move to approve consent agenda. A is approve, okay.
Yeah, this is.
The school board will discuss the minutes from the
confusing.
April meeting and pay claims submitted. The school board will approve resignations from James Bamer, Old Elm 4 through 8 teacher, Jared Digman, elementary PE, Crystal Travis, sped paraprofessional. The following staff will be conducting summer school at OHI: Jennifer Bartelt, middle school ELA, Jeanette Vandenhoek, high school general science, Chad Jadozzi, middle school South Dakota history, Heather Andera, high school Brit Lit, all at their daily rate of pay. The following staff for the summer reading program per the list at $30 per hour. The following staff: Charlie McKean, outside summer maintenance at $15.85, with the other custodial personnel yet to be determined. Items to be declared surplus can be found on the list included: school nurse contract with Avera at $47 per hour at 5 hours per day. A is approve April minutes, B is approve claims, C is approve resignation, D is approve summer school and summer custodial staff, E is declare items surplus, F is approve contract with Avera for school nurse support. So if there aren't any questions about any of those, I just need a motion to approve.
Just a couple additions there within who's doing what. So we're having trouble getting some summer help. And
Student-wise?
Yeah, right. So Mr. Bernie and myself kind of went and rattled the trees a little bit. We think we found some kids, but they are going to be younger. They're going to be 14, 15-year-old kids, not these 18-year-old students that has been typically done in the past. So, and I think the only stipulation there is making sure that, and these guys don't run any equipment per se anyway. It's more muscle, I think, it's for the most part. So, but we have 4 kids: John Vander Linden, Gage Jadozzi, Rico Mullenberg, and Joaquin Rodriguez. And I think they're all interested. They still have some, I think, talking to their parents to make sure that that was okay with their parents, and we laid out expectations for those guys, and all very well receptive to that. We also would like to hire Daryl Gray. He's actually right now in a filling in position within the kitchen. He's an adult and support in the summer school program, the summer school custodian. And we would hire him at $12 an hour. The kids would be at the minimum of $10.80. So I think that would fulfill our expectations and get us the summer support that we need in order to get things taken apart and put back together, before the school year starts in the midst of everything else that's going on here too. So, and the other thing that wasn't included in there, but we just wanted to make sure that our ESY services, that's a special education, that is for extended school year, and Mrs. Gerlach and Kara Conrad are going to run that particular program, and they're working on their schedule for next, or for this summer. And Miss Gerlach, I believe, Craig helps retains, I think it's $30 right now.
Yeah, it's per negotiated agreement. It's all stated in
And
negotiated.
Mrs. Conrad, I don't know what
They would get the same.
She gets her.
I'll double check with Chance, but it's per negotiated agreement. There's a $20 amount and a $30 amount. If you are teaching and actually the instructor, it's the 30. If it's just helping, and the $20 one was more for the summer, the after school program. For that, where it's not necessarily instruction, it's helping with homework.
Support.
Yep, and that's mostly what the $20 one is for. That's so how it was listed in the past was It'd be Lynette Gerlach, Kara Conrad, ESY instructor per negotiated agreement. And those summer reading programs that were on that list, that's per negotiated agreement.
And that was, yeah,
Yep.
that was that list. then.
Which is the same amount for both those.
Okay.
Mr. Emery, I saw here on your notes that you had Charlie McKean. Is he still gonna help out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, he's
Maybe
on
mention
board.
him. I didn't see.
It says it right here in this.
In the notes?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, it was,
Oh, it might not have been in the notes, but it was.
No,
in
it was
there.
right here.
okay.
Yeah, maybe it
He's
was
gonna do
there,
them
but
all.
it was
he's
here.
on board.
Okay.
Yep. He's gonna basically help with our outside and making sure, keeping that up to snuff, so. Of course. Okay. I think that's all I had, Jill, for that. I just
Okay.
make sure that was.
All right, we just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Leishman, second by Neal. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, we'll move to information staff reports. Adam, do you want to go?
A couple things. We're just going to start with elementary wise. We're winding down the school year. You guys just heard about our summer reading program. I'm really excited about that. Right now we have 99 kids signed up for that, so we've over doubled in size from last year, which is going to be a good thing. So really excited about that and getting those kids going and having them here a couple times a week for a couple weeks. So I think that's going to be really good.
8 days? I think it was 8 days.
Yeah, 4 weeks at, twice a week, so 8 days. Yep, we'll have them for 8 days, and got some good teachers that have volunteered to work with us this summer. Obviously, they're getting paid for it, but they're willing to come in and work, and so I think we got a good team of people that are going to be able to help them, and we're also going to be able to offer that at the colonies as well, which is a nice thing to have too. So excited about that. Otherwise, we are kind of wrapping things up. I'm meeting with teachers, talking about their SLOs and kind of how things have went with, they have different assessments that they have worked on throughout the year with their students, and it's been really positive seeing the growth that they've been able to accomplish with their groups and what they've been working on. So it's all been really good.
What is SLO? Sorry.
It's like student learning objective.
Oh,
so
okay.
they set a goal beginning of the year with a certain skill that they want to work on, whether that's math, reading, whatever. That's kind of been the main focus of most of the teachers.
Okay.
And then they assess them at the beginning, kind of track that throughout the year and see where they're at middle of the year. They do a reflection, and then at the end of the year we see their growth, hopefully see growth, and that's been really positive so far and what the results that they've shared with me. So it's very encouraging. I'm just really, I shared with staff this morning, just really impressed with the way they're continuing to push kids. A lot of fun learning experiences happening. They're not just quitting with 7 or 8 days left, so I think that's really good. We got a lot of field trips happening this week. We had kind of some fun things I just wanted to share with the board. I put in my newsletter to parents this week, but we did a vocab parade with our 3rd graders on Wednesday, and we did an ABC parade with our kindergartners on Friday. And the reason I wanted to share those with you, because a lot of times I think you see, if you catch the video that Tony puts out there, whatever, it's really cute and it looks cool to see all these little kids come in, but I want to talk about the educational value of that, and I'm really impressed with the public speaking skills that our kids are getting out of that. The whole side of the Armory is packed with parents and family members, and our own students come in to watch as well, and to see a kindergartner get up in front of all of those people and share something, a product that they've been working on, even if it's something as simple as the letter of the alphabet and what it stands for, I think is really important. And then you look at our 3rd graders and they're doing a vocab word, so they look that up, they memorize what the definition is, and they share a sentence and how it can be used. And so I love that we're scaffolding there and really working on those public speaking skills. And then even thinking back to the beginning of the year, our 4th graders do a wax museum and public speaking again, and now it's 3 to 4 minutes. And so I love how we have that, and we're building on that all the way through elementary. I think that's really going to pay dividends as they move to the other end. So I just wanted to share that, because if people talk about, well, it's really cute that they do that. Yes, it's really cute, but I think there's a lot of educational value too. So just wanted to share that with you guys. But otherwise, things are going well there. Athletically, activity-wise, we have the Pops concert tonight, which is going to be a great event. I'm really excited about that. Sports are in full swing. We just had, I think, a record number of our own people up at Howard Wood this last weekend. I don't think we've ever had more participate and compete than we did this weekend, and they ran really well and competed really well, so excited about that. Girls golf is competing today, and it looks like they're having some great scores out there. So things are going really well with that. We just had our big awards banquet last week, and that was a huge success. I'm always just blown away by, the talent that we have, and just kind of see it all come together and reflect on everything that has happened this year is a pretty powerful thing. And so, I think it's been a really good year, and it's fun to see all of that kind of coming together now in the end. So last thing I have from an activities standpoint, I just wanted to share with you guys, kind of make sure that you guys want to keep moving forward with this. I checked in on the scoreboards and kind of what that would entail. I know we talked at our last board meeting that we could potentially do everything for around $80,000. Well, we could, but it's not doing it probably the way that we need to with everything we want to run the scoreboards and everything else. So I touched base again with Daktronics, and so with the digital record board or digital board there and the stat boards on the side of the existing scoreboard, it would be right under $100,000. But had some good conversations about what that would look like to fundraise. And so on those pictures, you can see there are 4 slots on the bottom of the video board. Those would be for the 4 top tier sponsors. And then on the one with the stat boards, there are 6 spots. So you're looking at trying to secure 10 donors in the amount of either $4,000 or $5,000 for that top spot. After talking with Daktronics, they recommended that we would go with the $5,000 mark. And then that second tier would be $2,500, and those are a 5-year commitment that you would do, and then you can still sell some other ads. And we've kind of worked with Tony; he's doing some stuff there, and already kind of running with that and doing a really nice job. But essentially, then when you run the numbers, we would have. So we do have to pay for it up front. I was off. I think I told you guys we'd pay for it after. We would pay for the board up front, but we would have that money committed before we would move forward with anything. We would have contracts signed that we have the sponsorships filled up. And essentially then, gosh, I can't remember now, we would pay for them, I think, in the first 2 years. Does that sound right, Craig?
No, 2 to 3 or something.
2.5.
It all depends on what you spend.
Yeah.
And then the $1,000 ones that Tony's been working on, there was 10 of those, right? I think he said
I think
originally.
even more. I think he
And
had
what-
16,000.
He has more, but just because of the media already and working with, what's that place called? Live, Sports Live.
Live Ticket.
Live Ticket, right?
Yeah.
So they've already basically sold those for the live ticket portion as well. They would run them on here as well, maybe then we would use some of that money as well to add to the
that.
quickness of how fast
Right.
it would be.
So essentially, you pay it off in 2.5 years of our sponsorships, and then the remaining 2.5 years are all profit for the district. Because of how we're running it, we're not having a booster club do it for us. And so, we would end up making some pretty good money that we could put back into whatever the projects are that we want to put that into. So what I wanted to check with you guys on, do you want to continue moving forward? There would be no commitment if we don't get anybody to agree to spend them, to be a sponsor. But our next step would be to take these flyers around town to all the businesses or other people in the community that we think would be interested in being a sponsor. We don't share anything about numbers or anything like that. It's just, if you're interested, come to a meeting at the end of May. The Daktronics people come in and actually run that meeting. I would still be there. But they take them through the benefits of being a sponsor and the type of advertising you're going to get. And then they would share those numbers then at that point. And then we'd probably follow back up. How they've explained it to me is, that meeting would be end of May, and then that first week of June, second week of June, now you're going around to see if you can get the sponsors, if you can get the 10 people or 10 groups to commit to that. really, all we're out is just the time and legwork of going around. You know, if we don't get the people, then we don't do it. Yes, Mr. M?
Is it all or none? I mean,
Pretty much. I mean, what they said is if it comes back that we're
If
close,
you're one short.
If we're
right,
one
and
short, then we-
adjust everybody's price? Or?
yeah, you can either you can do that
Or you don't have the profit as quickly.
yes, right.
Because you're still gonna pay for it over the time.
Yeah. If
Just
we were-
maybe it's 3 to 3.5 years if you don't sell them.
Right. And so that's what they said is, you know, that's probably why you would want to start at asking for 5,000 and 2,500. That if you get out there and yeah, that's a little too much, now you can drop down to 4,000 and still be in a good position to get it paid for pretty quickly. Where if you go from 4 and it's not working, you drop that to 3. Now it's on the
Because-
fundraising side not as good a business approach, but they have. I don't know, you know, classically they're salesmen themselves, and they say that they've never had a project, you know, not go. So we'll see, but
They've had one school maybe did the 4 and 2, the rest have
Yeah.
done 5,
yeah,
correct? Wasn't it
typically like
something that?
Outpoint, like schools our size are going 5 and
Thought he said
5 and
Canton was-
2,500.
Canton, I will stick on my head, is the only one that went 4 and 2 or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember who he said did that, but then they felt like they got it so fast
They figured, yeah.
that they
could've done
probably could have asked for a little more, is what the Daktronics people said. But
I was in the Pierce High School a couple weeks ago. I don't know what they used it for, but there wasn't a blank spot on the wall that wasn't in that.
Really?
Some company on there.
Yeah.
So.
yeah. So I mean, really, it's kind of up to you guys. If you want me to keep moving forward with it, I can. If you don't, I understand that too. I know we ask our community for lots of things. So
What's the time frame, Adam, if we give them the go-ahead?
I believe we'd have it before basketball. I don't
Yeah.
know that we'd have it before volleyball. They're running. Gosh, he told me, but I just kind of put it in my mind about seasons, and so thinking end of November, first part of December is when they thought they could have everything in with all the pieces and parts and all of that.
Let's place it in order by when?
While using this time
6
frame of
months.
probably middle of June.
June for production, and then
Yeah. And they did talk about too the life of these things.
Yeah, well-
So you're guaranteed a 10-year lifespan, but that doesn't mean you're done with it then. They have several schools they cited. I think Vermilion's one that stands out, or Yankton, one of the two, or maybe both. Yankton, I think, is on like their 4th cycle of selling these ads, and they have the same board. And so, I mean, they're just that's all just profit. You know, so they're guaranteed to make the parts for 10 years, but then if it keeps working and everything's up to date, you know, or you can still get little things, it's just some of the bigger things might be, they move on to a new board, I guess, a new model is how they explained
And
it.
then they quit making parts for them
Yes.
after a certain amount of time, and that's what happened to our old one.
Right.
Is they no longer make the parts for it, so then you can't update it.
But he said it's pretty safe. I mean, 15, a couple schools are at their 20 years already and still selling ads, so. I don't know. Other questions or things that I maybe skipped over?
If we would run short on the funding, can the stat boards be put on the display, every so often, Or is that-
I wanted to say the difference in it was more of the video board differential price. I mean, the
It's
upgrade
more
on the
about-
video side, wasn't it, Adam?
Yep.
Okay.
The upgrades that move us up out of that $80,000 are like the control units
Okay.
to let us control all three of our existing scoreboards with one iPad, and having the iPad to be able to do that. I think if you don't do the upgrade, you don't get the iPad. You're
So then
using
you
the
got more
old
people
console.
working it
Yeah.
and stuff like that, because then you see on the one side, the stats will be on that video board as well.
Sure.
That's why you only have the stats on the one.
On the one
end.
side.
Okay,
Yeah.
so okay.
Yeah.
So
So
then like a screen would be, just like our old one,
Yeah.
stats would show up on that every once in a while as well.
sure.
So maybe you lost me here. Is this new scoreboards on both ends?
Actually, new
That
scoreboard's
one
not at
on
all.
that end is existing scoreboard with stat boards and
On the sides.
dress
Yep,
it up. That's
yep.
what we have.
Okay.
And then that one is the new big video board.
And there'll still be the stat, or the scoreboard as well on that end that we
Correct.
have.
So we'd have our
We're not getting rid of any.
our two existing, basically adding a video board and
The
those
wings.
stat boards. And the nice thing with the video board, it's basically like a screen like this. I mean, so we were brainstorming, like, we could be using it for graduation, we could use it for wrestling tournaments, we
PE
can use it for
classes.
PE class, we can use it for.
Graduation video, instead of putting the video on the
Yeah.
wall with the projector.
Pixel, it's an actual
Video screen.
where
Yep.
you will see,
Yeah.
like you're watching TV.
Yeah.
That stat board that was in there now is more,
It's not at that
it's,
level.
it's LEDs lighting up. I mean,
Yeah.
this is actual watching.
Yeah, he talked about you can use for people that be practicing in there, you can pull up your whatever film editing, and for us it's Huddle. You could have your scouting reports up on that screen, the kids can be listening to the coach, they can look up there and see it. They can, so it's essentially another TV screen that we would hook up
Monitor
like an
thing,
Apple
hook
TV
up
or something to
Internet
it.
too.
Yeah. So that's how you can use it. We're trying to figure out how you could use it for different choir concerts, different things like that, but.
So the video screen, you guys are convinced that it's of good size?
Oh, yeah, yep.
It was just the dilemma, what our dilemma was where to put it.
Yeah.
Because some schools, remember they talked about put them together, side by side, it makes it look bigger.
Sure.
Right next and it attaches it to the scoreboard. He just drew the picture up right now, putting it on the other side of, so the scoreboard, we're looking this way, is on over here.
Yep.
Video board would be on that side towards our crowd.
That's what we
So
talked
our
about.
crowd wouldn't have to look through the basketball hoop, the other crowd has to.
Yeah.
So if you put it next to the scoreboard, then you kind of are looking through the
Yeah.
hoop, and we didn't think
Put it
that was
right in the
good.
middle, same thing. So that, I mean, that can all be changed. We can adjust all of that, the location and everything. But
Yeah.
as we were going through it, that's what we thought is that our crowd would have the best angle at that.
Is there a warranty on it for so long? Did they tell you?
Warranty? I don't know. I would assume there is, but I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. I'm just curious how long it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably the same as every other scoreboard.
Yeah, I could check. Yeah, I could check on that, but I don't know that answer off the top of my head.
We were in Volga. I watched a video basketball game with Canastota. They've all had these video boards, and it
Yep,
really
Canastota.
adds to the atmosphere of the
The replays?
the replays and like I said, ads and they do all kinds of stuff.
Tony's gonna sub ads to out of town for the classic and stuff like that he can run up there. And you're getting some revenue from out of town and not just our people as well towards it.
And with that upgrade, Daktronics gives us, they basically fill a library for us full of like different graphics for different things you might need for a sporting event. So like if it's something that pops up on there, if a three-pointer that's made, or a pin or a takedown or something like that, or a spike in volleyball, they build that all, that's all part of that upgrade cost, is they fill that library and give you some of those things. They'll build the sponsorship ads for us, and little videos to go along with those. So that's part of their thing too. So I just presented to you. It seemed like this is the direction, to get you guys the information, and then you tell me if you think it's something that we should keep pursuing or not. It's really up to you guys.
The initial expenditure would come out of your reserves and capital outlay.
Right.
Would you?
Would all
Close to-
the advertising then have to go back into the capital outlay, or that would be
I haven't looked
discretionary
into that.
once it's
That's,
paid for?
I suppose you gotta put the original
Yeah.
investment into
Yeah.
there, and then after that, I don't.
Once you recoup your dollars
Mhm.
and replace what it cost you on the front side, then I suspect after that, then you have the ability to redirect those funds
Mhm.
wherever you want them.
General
Yep.
fund, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good question. Where to put those?
Could be a good revenue.
Yeah, it
I
makes
don't
sense.
see
It should be, yeah.
Not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see our youth wrestling club pitching money into this.
Yeah, I could see a couple service clubs possibly.
Yeah.
So you said you thought about whoever's going out and see the businesses,
Mhm.
you think we ought to send them something? I mean, are you
Cold
gonna-
call with a knock?
I don't know.
Prep them a little bit as to, hey, I'll be coming and seeing you about
Yeah,
this.
I was really just gonna drop that off and just not say much more than that and leave it up. That's kind of what they advised me, is drop the flyer with them, and if they're interested, they'll show up to that meeting. Because they're gonna be the experts on talking through all of the price points and the advertising and what you get for that. And they said not to share that price point right away, just because, I don't know, you want to get them in the room and see what the,
And you want to see how interested
Yeah.
they truly are.
yeah,
If they're there, they're interested.
right.
I was just concerned that if you don't get to everybody, to make sure.
Right, I mean, that is one of my concerns, is how do I,
Make sure you
Get
don't get
everyone.
in
Don't leave
trouble by
anybody out.
leaving somebody out.
right,
There you
right.
go.
Put that in the paper, have an auction.
We could put the invite in the paper too, yeah.
Can you post it on the website?
Mhm,
Put
yeah,
it in
Yeah.
Meeting and then
can do all
everybody
that,
should get it.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
okay,
Certainly worth a try.
Like I said, you're not out nothing but a little bit of time,
yeah,
so.
okay, okay,
Nice upgrade.
okay.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Thanks, Al.
Yep.
All right, since Mr. Knippling's not here, why don't you go ahead with yours?
So the timeline on the HVAC, so I talked to Josh Paulson last week, and I've asked him to essentially hold off until the 22nd. And he said he's willing to do that. We shut the boilers off today. We have to drain those systems down, try to capture all the glycol out of there, so we're without heat. And I just said this is the way it's gonna be, because I think those systems have to sit for just about a week in order to make sure that the things have drained back and where it's supposed to be, and easeability to drain those boiler systems. So once that starts, then they'll be here full force on the inside and the outside. So
You said May 22nd?
May 22nd, yeah. So the other component I have there is just the information, and I put in your packet about this new teacher apprenticeship pathway. So we all know that teachers are hard to come by right now, in not only across the nation, but in the state of South Dakota as well. So what I included in there, and this came out of the Department of Ed, and it's in collaboration with our regional system. So we have our state-supported schools at the secondary level playing a part in this. It's usually it's Dakota State and Northern who are the greater players here. So the question that is posed to, I guess, school districts, and I wanted you guys to be aware of, is that if we have working paraprofessionals, which they have to be according to the program, and they want to find a less burdensome pathway to become a certified teacher, then this program is designed for them, especially those that already have a degree or have credits to their name. But we have to have skin in the game, and the individuals have to have skin in the game. So they would be in the program. If they get accepted, they would have to come up with $1,000 on their own, and they're asking the districts to support that or match that $1,000. I asked Dr. Graves, I said, well, can you help me understand why the school districts have to, I guess, ante up some dollars into support of the program? He said, well, the main purpose is to identify those particular people that you as a school district are willing to essentially employ if they ever got to that point and get their certification. We don't want you just recommending or letting people apply just because. And if you take it seriously, then odds are that that individual or those individuals will take it seriously as well. So it's kind of the district's, their expectation at the Department of Ed that we're committed to supporting those people and letting those people apply, that we would probably, at some point in time, if it ever came to that opportunity, employ those people in a teaching capacity. So with that, that's really all there is. I guess my question for you guys is because the application is supposed to come out by the end of this week, and I've met with all of our paraprofessionals about this notion, and there's probably 4 to 5 paraprofessionals who are serious about wanting to become a teacher. And I don't have any reservations out of all the ones that were there at the meeting, because it was come if you're interested, recommending any of those particular paraprofessionals as a candidate for the program. And there's only 60 spots in the pilot program. Well, the information says 50. Dr. Graves told me 60 in the conversation I had with him last week. So Odds are of all of them being accepted, probably not, you know, in the first year of the pilot program. But it's still a commitment on our part. You know, if a couple of them got committed, you know, there's $2,000 on our part in order for those particular paraprofessionals to be in that program if they got accepted. So that's why I wanted to bring it to you guys. Is that something that we see value in? Something we want an expenditure, and it's one-time expenditures. I mean, you know, if the pilot works and this starts filling the needs around the state of South Dakota and trying to fast track some people to, you know, teaching certificates, I think it'll continue to build and be part of our approach to filling teacher vacancies. So,
Mr. M, is there a commitment on students' part, these these paras that have to be with us for 2 or 3 years if they get their degree?
yeah, no, well, no, not necessarily.
Okay.
But if that's something that the district wanted to do, only those of, you've worked for us for 2 years in a para capacity, I mean, you could put that threshold on it. They said anybody who is in a working capacity right now as a paraprofessional are the people that they're looking to target.
No, like, do they have to guarantee us so many
That's what I'm
years
saying.
On the
back?
backside too.
That's what I'm
Again, same thing, up to
Oh,
you guys.
okay. The only
There's no policy on it.
The only issue would be
No
if
guidance.
you don't have a
Guidance.
position. So could the contract be if we have a position available?
Right, you're not obligated to hire them under any circumstances, and if you did, do you want to put something in policy as an expectation? Well, you owe us 2 years. You know, if we do hire you, you owe us 2 years. You know, because we invested in you, we want you to invest in us. So, yeah, I mean, you could certainly put something in policy on that aspect of things, but again, no guidance from.
Sure.
It's almost the same, the other component we're going to talk about is the same thing with the student teaching. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Okay, tell me how to do it. And they're like, no, not really. That's going to be up to you guys. So,
Maybe it's not a big deal, I just asked.
No, I think it is. Most places, if you're gonna pay for someone to do something, their
help
your
them.
expectation, yeah, help them, whatever, is to get something back from it. I mean, and if we were willing to send them and we would suggest them, then why wouldn't we want them back in our district if we could have them back?
the main sticking point there is, are you in a position to offer them an opportunity or to have them apply? If you
Sure.
don't have any turnover in your system, they went through that, they got their degree, I really want to teach, you know, you're not going to tell those people, well, you can't, otherwise you owe us whatever amount of money.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
You know what I mean?
It would just be only if we had a position.
Exactly, right.
That I would
If they
like
do
it
get
back.
hired, yeah,
Yeah.
we expect you to stay,
Mhm.
and for whatever duration or length of time that would be.
Is this 1 year per person for $1,000, or is this like multiple years, $1,000 a year?
So that depends on where they're at in their already acquirement of credits.
But I mean, to get into the is this $1,000 that they're paying for to get into the program? They're still gonna have to pay for credits on top of this? or
Nothing.
Nothing, it's just $2,000.
This is it, man.
Okay.
You can become a certified teacher for me as an individual for $2,000. I'm not paying for any credits. I'm not paying for any fees. I'm not doing anything. And plus I get to work. I
Yeah.
get to keep my paraprofessional job while I'm doing this. So I'm earning income while I'm going to school, and it does cost me nothing.
Didn't I read somewhere in there had to be, you know, some college credits
That's why there's a
already?
limit on how many.
The,
Or-
the
Okay,
first
I was
line of
gonna say, 'cause
defense,
then if
when
I
they
was to take
take
high
those
school,
60
be an
applicants,
educator, I just
those
either
who have
have the school
already
pay for it.
credit to their
Limiting it.
name are gonna be
Okay,
first choice.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why they're
Our
limited to
brains
60
went there
people
quick,
too.
didn't it?
Yeah.
We were both like,
So how many credits is up to them?
Well, most, you know, so if it's, you're looking at a 2-year span of time. So if I have an associate's degree, it's really getting you your education block. Depending on what you bring to the table, maybe there's some gen ed requirements that you're going to have to fill the bucket with too. If it's I have nothing to my name, I'm a working paraprofessional, I've never been to school, It's still a 4-year journey, but I have the ability to expedite that if, let's say Jill has a bachelor's of science degree in nursing. You know what? I want to go do this teaching thing. With her degree, she more than likely, within a year's time, she could probably just do her ed block first semester, student teach second semester. Here's your certificate, and go.
There's never happening.
Just a thought.
Nope, not for me, thank you.
But the easeability of it, that's what they're trying to do, is streamline
Got
the
it.
process and make it as
Well,
unburdening
That's
as
awesome.
possible for people. And that's how desperate we are to fill vacancies across the
state
state.
has a little extra money.
So, yeah.
Pretty
Okay.
cool.
So do we need to,
It's more just a blessing that when that application comes, that I haven't looked at it yet to see what it is in its entirety. They have to fill information out, and I'm sure there's something that we'll have to commit to and sign some paperwork as well.
okay,
But
but when we do that, we don't have to have like our policy in place of what we
I don't
expect?
think so yet.
Okay.
I mean, because the policies I think that we're talking about, or it's after the fact.
Okay.
You know, we'll have a little bit of time to put those together and say, okay, you got in, you're working on it, we committed, you committed, and oh, by the way, you know, if the opportunity comes to employ you, we employ you, here's what we're asking in return for helping you, so.
Okay. I mean, yeah, is everybody in agreement that they're okay with that? Yeah. Okay. All right, sounds good. Is that all you had for your
Yes,
report?
yes,
Okay.
yep.
Ready for me?
Yeah, perfect timing.
Perfect. I was gonna pull up a report for FFA. So I'll just talk about, it's been busy, I can't believe how quickly a month goes this time of year. You know, we're kind of winding down with all of the state conventions and stuff. FFA was the last one. Some big things there in terms of some top individuals. Reese Riker got 7th in food science and technology at the state FFA convention. Ellie Gehring got 2nd place in horse evaluation. Drew Braley got 4th in nursery landscape. Elliot Leischner got 4th in poultry evaluation. Ty Fink got 8th in poultry evaluation. Grace Lindeman got 8th in vet science. And a lot of other students were top 20, so we really showed well individually. And then for teams, we had a 6th place team in horse evaluation, 4th place in nursery landscape, 3rd in poultry evaluation, and the big one, advancing to nationals, our vet science team got 1st place. So that was Grace Lindeman, Kiana Hargens, Taylor Fink, and Ashley Tapio won it. I know she was especially excited about that. So FFA finished up well. You know, and then obviously with, it seems like in the last little bit, now our sports, finally that the weather's turned, our sports have started to be the reason kiddos are gone. We've had a ton of track meets. I had golf today as well. Golf's going really well. We had by far our best day of the year so far. Obviously weather-wise that helped. Gracie got 10th and we beat a team. So we're finishing with a team score and we're beating people. By golly, we're getting good. But 3 of the 5 had their best of the year. So that was awesome. It was really exciting. So outside of that, in the last couple weeks, we've got registration kind of squared away. All the kids, I rolled out for the first time the course catalog, changed the registration sheet. We got those all in. Now it's my job to figure out how to put them in Infinite Campus. That's the next goal. But registration's going well. I sent out some things for 8th grade Algebra 1 to the current 7th graders last week, and trying to get the music and band and chorus for middle school squared away. And then we'll be about done with that. So, you know, seniors are done on Friday, graduation on Saturday, semester test next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So ready or not, we are almost to the end. So it's coming pretty quick. But been a good little stretch. I feel like despite, you know, someday I'll sit down and add up how many student absences you deal with because of events. This time of year, I feel like we're still moving forward. I've got to look at the standardized test scores have all kind of started to come in, and I've really just kind of looked at them from a far glance, but it looks pretty good. I don't see anything of any concern. I think we're doing okay there. So looking forward to digging into those numbers and starting to find some ways we can improve for next year and build those goals. So yeah, it's coming along, but it's been a busy spring, but we're almost there. Any questions?
So not to put you on the spot,
Yeah.
how's been your first year?
How's been my first year? You know, I kind of laughed to think about January, February. Somebody asked me how it's going. I was like, it almost feels like it's gone too easy. And now I know why I felt like it was going too easy. I just don't think I realized how many things were on the horizon that I probably should have been doing at the time. This last about 2 or 3 months has really been a blur, but it's been great. I guess for me personally, this is a really nice switch at this point in time in my career. After 15 years of teaching in the classroom, I've really enjoyed the switch. So it's been a blast. Really loved it. Wouldn't change a thing. Good. Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we will move to discussion items. A is review policy manual. The following ASBFD policies are being presented for review and a first reading. BDDD, BDDE, BDDF, BDDG, BDDH.
The first one, this is our more board operations here. You're talking about a quorum. That's BDG. The DE is parliamentary procedure. Your DF is your voting method. And your DG is your minutes, and that's more governed by codified law and the things that you need to do there. And DDH is public participation at your board meetings, and there's nothing there that you're practicing right now as a school board that you're necessarily out of compliance with or you don't align with. So that would be considered your first reading of those particular policies and moving forward in your manual. So there's no questions about any of them. So
Anybody have questions? All right, we will move to discussion item B. Review policy manual. The following ASBSD policies are being presented for review in a second reading. BDB, BDC, BDDA, BDDB, and BDDC. So it's a second reading. Anybody have any comments on any of those? All right, we'll move to discussion item C. Review policy manual. The following ASBSD policies are being presented for review and adoption on BCE, BCF, BCG, BD, and BDA. If there aren't any objections to those, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kroll and seconded by Leisure. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, we'll move to discussion item D, building committee update. We'll hear about an update on the timeline for the building project along with an update on the financing of the capital outlay certificates.
So in your packet, you had a document that looks like this of the ratings component. We talked about ratings direct for the Parkton School District, and it outlined our credit rating and how that was arrived at. Mr. Bruning and I had a conversation with a gentleman. Remember where he's from, Mr. Bruning? I don't either. But anyway, he asked us a series of probably 15 questions that we had to respond to, and then because of that conversation, this is the end product of that conversation, and we have a A+ rating as a school district. So pretty standard according to Jerry Smethman, D.A. Davidson, who were selling our certificates, and everything looked good, and the gentleman said no concerns on his part as far as giving you that rating. So we wanted to make sure that that was included in your packet. The other component that I handed out here was a front and back component for the building. Mr. Smethman got a hold of Craig and I last week, Mr. Bruning, or the week before? Do you remember? I think it was the week before even.
Yeah, it was.
And the conversation, I know you're just seeing this now, but there's an email attached there, the front side of that. And essentially, he called us to explain to us, I gave it to you.
Yep.
He called us to give us information about where the market was at. And the original timeline, they were going to detract this one. It's on the front side of that one, John.
Okay.
There you go.
It was handed out tonight.
I handed it out.
I
to
probably just have it
everybody.
mixed in somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine.
Yep.
Okay, we can share to it.
Yeah, so it's this email which I'm referencing here. So that they were going to delay the selling of those certificates just slightly because of what was happening in the market. So, you know, if you read that information in the email, I can go through this. The municipal market has been quite volatile leading up to the Federal Reserve's meeting, and this is now past Tuesday. This was last Tuesday. The consensus with our trading desk was to delay the pricing of the district's limited tax capital outlay certificates until after the Fed's meeting earlier that week. This was based on two criteria. First, buyers typically pass on purchasing bonds or certificates the week prior to and then the week of a Fed meeting, which would lead to a dearth of buyers for the district certificates. Second, there's been a concern in the market about the fallout from the bank contagion related to the failures of Silicon Bank, the Signature Bank, and the First Republic Bank. That contagions affected banks who would be potentially interested in buying the certificates until we saw how the purchase of the First Fed or the First Republic Bank sorted itself out. Now that we have passed both the Fed meeting and the purchase of the First Republic by J.P. Morgan, they feel more confident in the municipal market and where things were at. And we got this information from him last Friday. And you can see that main item there. Consequently, we plan to price out your district certificates this coming Tuesday, May 9th. And we got an email from him today that that's still in line to do that they will put that out there. There's another document that he attached to that, and it was like, I looked at it, I tried to read it, it was 6 pages, and it was worse than a foreign language. I couldn't understand any of it, I truly didn't. But I think we have to put our faith in D.A. Davidson and doing the right thing and holding off, because you want a competitive market in order to get the best rate. And at the time, if they did not wait at that time, that because of those reasons just stated, he felt that they were not going to get that for the Parkston School District. So I think once they go out tomorrow, people look at them, I think they'll start getting information. He'll stay in contact with us about what that market is looking like and how favorable, and what the rate is and what they're willing to buy at that point in time. So that's the financing part of the update on the project. And I think if I recall, Craig helped me here, that it would all, if we get them sold, I think this week, then by the end of May, I think we still have everything
2 weeks,
all,
I believe it was 2
everything all
weeks.
wrapped up. And
It's still the same timeline.
yeah, he did. And not to say that he didn't deter that by the end of May we would have the money and things sold. So, okay. The questions on that? I know it's, John, you got comments?
Yeah, so I got a couple. How does our A+ rating compare? I know it's a good rating, but how is it compared to most schools? Do you know?
I think it's pretty standard, quite honestly. I think there's probably the biggest determining factor of our A+ rating. Maybe some schools around that have...
Because of our debt structure?
Yeah, they've already got debt, on the books and particular portions of it, and they wanted to do something more. I think that might knock them down, but the fact that, and he cited that, our debt, we do have some in your QZAP bonds, but within a year, that's going to be, or 18 months, it's taken care of. He cited that. That's a positive thing. And then after that, you're debt-free. So I think that did play a large part in getting the rating, that you weren't carrying a load and then turning around and asking for more.
So is he reasonably assured that he's going to get what we thought we were going to get?
Yeah, I think Mr. Spethman was confident, of the six, what is being offered is 6.535 million is what's being offered. And then I believe, and he said he felt comfortable with the rates, even after this small delay, that things are gonna still be favorable, for the
Premium
parks. Might not yield as much, the
Quite as
premium might
much,
not
but he
yield as
wasn't-
much, but.
I want to say it's $50-some thousand difference maybe is what he was thinking. Possibly, which isn't that bad because it was, what was it, almost 500,000.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, we saw the email and I looked at him and he looked at me and like, okay, what does that mean? And then we called Jerry and like, can they help us here understand this? And not an uncommon happening within the market and selling certificates, so.
I think it's the same rating we got when we did the bond refinancing, if I remember right. AA plus.
Yeah, 'cause I'm sure, based on who might want to be purchasing, ratings make a big difference.
Yeah. And you don't know that until you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Any
how
questions?
soon would we know once they're sold?
I expect after he puts them out for tomorrow and they go out to the market, some sort of a communication.
That's the way I understood it too. It goes out to then the banks will be able to see it.
Days?
Yeah, yeah, just to see where it's headed, so.
To see what potentially banks know that.
Yeah, he asked us if the banks were in town, here and in Mitchell.
I
Or who we did business with, he said.
That's the first line of attack. Typically, he said that they will reach out locally.
Right. Okay.
They may have already done that because he asked me that
Well, he did, yeah.
a
now
week
you
or
say
two
that.
ago, of what banks we, in town here and which ones do we.
He said
do
that's a
business with.
different division in our company. He said, but I'm not so sure that they don't even, that division doesn't already know who those people are, and that they've probably even had a conversation with those people. So,
Okay.
Any other questions?
on the financing, I just wanted to real quick, just to give you the first change order. There's no money associated with this yet, but that's just a drawing. That was the high school principal's, going to be the high school principal's office, and the change order was for that particular classroom next door, and what we had to do to retrofit that, So you see the high school office there, you see the workroom, and then that little room there where you're putting a toilet in.
Where is this at?
So this would be Mr. Huber's room, and this is Miss Andre's room. It's in the east wing of the high school office, or the high school hallway. Where the new high school office is going to be.
It's just a little bit of changing by adding the bathroom more than
Yeah.
that. More than anything.
And knocking a hole in the wall.
Yes.
So is that the concern of trying to find the sewer?
Yep, and he
Yes.
found it, they did find it running in Mrs. Kufka's room.
So not
So
bad.
you're not breaking out much concrete to tap into a 4-inch line. He said it actually worked out pretty good. Where originally we thought we were gonna have to go across the hallway into another classroom and go about another 30 foot to tap into the back side of the bathrooms down there.
Yeah.
He said, no, there's a 4-inch line that runs right through Mrs. Kufka's room. So, and that'll be right on the back side of that wall. So it won't take much.
I suppose it's probably going over to that other bathroom in the.
That's where it's headed, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's what it's capturing, is coming from those bathrooms is where it's headed. So, and then the bottom portions of that are just some of the cabinetry work that's gonna be in those particular classrooms, so. Okay. I expect to get pricing on that change order, and then probably, maybe not by the end of this week, but maybe by the end of next week, so.
Timeline when they're gonna start work?
They are rolling come 22nd.
They're delivering stuff on Friday, wasn't it?
We had a construction meeting on Tuesday. The trailer, so Pitts's work trailer is gonna go over there on the south side of the sign. Out there, they're gonna tap into a temporary pole. Northwestern's coming over and they'll have access to their work trailer. And that's where all that will be housed out of. We met the superintendent who's gonna be running the whole project. Yeah, I mean, they want in.
Security
and
fence up and stuff like
They'll
that.
they'll have
Work fence, you
security.
know.
We're gonna lose a little bit of the footprint in the parking lot, especially when the roofing material comes in, but they'll have it all quarantined off and sectioned off. And by come November, he thought, if I remember the timeline, that December, that we'll probably get that footprint back because of the roof will be, the major part of the roof will be on by that point in time, so.
I don't remember will be enclosed by the time snow flies in or?
Trying, yeah, that's the whole goal.
Sure.
Yep, and then there'll be temporary heat in that part of it then, that done. So, Vanderpool.
Yeah, the dirt guy wasn't there. But
He
I
wasn't,
think
but
that-
he, that week of the 22nd, I mean, so 2 weeks away, he's gonna start coming, busting up concrete, and building the approach, the new approach, and, you're gonna see equipment and dirt flying, I think, so.
Okay.
Okay. that's where we're at on that.
Okay, we will move to discussion item E, adding positions to supplementary extra duty salary schedule. The school board will discuss the procedure in this board's discretion to add positions to the supplemental extra duty salary schedule and the procedures to be used to do so.
This is a conversation that I believe everybody is aware of based on our negotiation meeting and the negotiation process with the PEA. It really has to do with the PEA's request to add a position, an FFA assistant advisor, through the negotiation process. And John and Jill sat on the initial conversation of that during the negotiation meetings. And that information, I think the dialogue went, the board would take a look at adding that if we could find the funding source for that. The funding source was suggested back to the FFA advisor. It really has one person, it's Ms. Ackerman, in that respect to her summer duties and trying to find some money within the 20 days that she's allotted to do that. So she went through that, I sat down with her, she went through that summer program with me. We agreed to have some clarity. She is working on an exact list of expectations and duties that she goes through in any one given summer. And at that time, the journals that she has to account for her time, to ask her to give up 3 or 4 of her 20 days that she's allotted by negotiated agreement and on her contract, didn't feel that was something that was going to glean the dollars needed in order to add the assistant advisor. So I guess the conversation and feedback from you guys all in a single environment at one point in time, Matt, you brought up the question as to why should that even be, something that is negotiated, where does the board have the right to add any positions they want, which I believe you do. You can add to that footprint at your discretion. I think the only part that has to be going through a negotiation process is the compensation component of it, because that's what negotiation is. So you could add that assistant FFA advisor or gymnastics or any other component that you wanted to. You would have to ask those people or go to the table, okay, how much are these particular positions going to be, what are you going to pay? What do you expect to be paid? And then what are you going to be paid? So the assistant advisor in this capacity of FFA, we aligned that to the other, I think our least paid, Craig, if I remember
It was,
right.
of all of our activities, HOSA, CCLA, FFA, FBLA. FBLA is by far the least, it's about half of what everyone else's is, just because of the number of events and things that they're out of the district for, out of the school day. And that's what we aligned it to.
And the reason behind that is we didn't feel that an FFA advisor, while maybe in question about the workload or even the number of events, that person in the FBLA is, as a head person, would end up taking less dollars in that advisory position, a head advisory position, than somebody who may be in an assistant advisory position. So I think the question remains is that something, the notion of adding it at your guys' discretion, any position, and then sitting down with the board, or the PEA, and saying, okay, what amounts? Now, the amounts were disclosed to them, the board's offer as to what that position would entail. So it wasn't a situation, knowing that the money wasn't going to be gleaned via the summer concept. Question is do you want to add it or you don't want to add it? It's either
without gleaning any revenue to go towards it.
It's yay or nay.
Or deleting some other expenditure.
And I guess my point on that was, I just thought it was kind of weird to have that as the process where a position is added, where I don't think it should become precedent that if the teachers or anybody thinks that a position should be added, that it goes through the negotiation process. I think it should go through administration, and if they're not satisfied then, they come and sit down here. I would think would be the normal process, so that was what my comments were about, so.
And I think that's probably, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't been here long enough that maybe Craig, you can shed some light on that, maybe that was standard operating procedure to some degree, or John, to that.
Not a favor.
But there hasn't been very many added in my,
Uh-huh.
The only
Straight
thing
here.
we've added was the prom thing since I've been
it was
here.
adjusted, but that was started prior to negotiations. They just didn't start this soon enough in the negotiation
It
process.
was something that we did as a board, it was not part
Yeah.
of negotiations.
We redid the whole,
Which is what Matt is saying it
Schedule.
should be. We did it how you think it should be done.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't part of negotiations. So the question is, do we want to add a second line item to pay someone to be a secondary advisor, correct?
You need an assistant.
Another advisor?
Assistant FFA advisor.
Okay.
At the rates in which were proposed to the PEA.
Is it, can we table that to either executive session or after
Yeah.
executive session?
Yep.
I
Yep,
would-
because you're talking about some in-depth personnel, you can certainly do that, and we'll circle back to that.
I would move to do that.
I know, okay, yep. Yep. And I think you could just go on knowing that we're gonna come back and address it.
okay, we don't need to have motion
I
to
don't
table.
think so, yeah.
Because right now it's just a discussion item anyway.
Yep, so we can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move to F, is student teacher pay. The school board will discuss the changes to administrative rule with respect to paying student teachers and allowing student teachers to become teacher of record in the absence of being able to reassign or hire a certified teacher.
Yeah. This is another dilemma, and it all was a byproduct of April 17th at the last Board of Education meeting. That's when they adopted the social studies standards. But that's when they also changed the administrative rule. And again, it's trying to fill the void in teaching vacancies. So people who are coming out of college or who are in the position to start student teaching, it's the notion of being able to pay student teachers. The rationale behind that is Omaha Public Schools came to the campus of University of South Dakota and started walking around into the education department and said, "We will pay you $5,000 to come student teach in Omaha." And the kids like, "Okay." And away they went. And if they go to Omaha, they're not coming back. And it sounds
Right.
like it's a practice that is, yeah, right.
They might.
That became quite a concern. So nobody, I guess, had any issues or heartburn with the aspect of paying student teachers. And there are other states that are paying student teachers as well. Again, one more enticement to try to get kids into teaching, and then they can make a little money while they're student teaching. This particular notion, there's a student teacher permit that has been added, and now there's an advanced student teacher permit. The question is do you just pay student teachers? So if we're gonna take Parkston School District and Dr. Digman calls down and says, "Hey, I got 2 kids that we're looking to place." Does that just come, okay, like we've been doing? Yeah, sure, bring them on down, we'll meet them, we'll decide, yep, okay. Add no monetary value to them, or are you going to potentially pay those people? And then there's this lane over here was an advanced student teacher permit where it becomes teacher of record. The school districts are getting into these situations where student teachers are needed, they need a placement, and they're instantaneously, potentially
Filling a void,
filling the void that you can't fill.
like a music or something.
A music or a math teacher or a science teacher, so that student teacher becomes teacher of record. There are some stipulations there according to what maybe you read here that we have to do some mentoring and provide that person, but superintendents are like, I mean, we had this conversation in my last SUS meeting, and me and another guy, like, he asked me, well, what are you gonna pay him? And I'm like, I don't know, what are you gonna pay him? So we automatically, right then and there, got into a bidding war to try to ascertain a potential student teacher. And they're gonna go to him because he's gonna pay him a full teacher salary, and I may be paying him half of that or a fraction of that. And there's no policy, there's no guidance from the Associated School Boards. I reached out to ASABD on this and asked Wade and Jessica, the attorney. They're like, I don't know. I said, well, can you find something? There's other states doing this. I mean, what is the guidance on this? Not to mention, should you even ask your PEA? Do the other teachers get a say into whether you're going to pay the student teacher what I'm making now, and they don't even have a degree yet, and you're going to pay them as much as you're going to pay me? I got a problem with that.
Theoretically, they're, I mean, I don't know how this works exactly, but they're basically a semester from being a full-fledged teacher.
Exactly.
right?
Or
So-
so many
12 to-
days.
It's 12 to
weeks,
16 weeks.
Depending.
Our state institutions, even our private ones in South Dakota,
not even a whole
have
semester.
a student teaching experience equivalent of 12 to 16 weeks. The only one that's above and beyond that is USD, and they're still in a year component. They have a year-long student teaching experience. But if you're gonna make them teacher of record, because you can't find any other teacher to teach that, you had no applicants, the expectation, now you're gonna
What are you gonna pay?
compensate those people in order to fill that void.
For something that normally we wouldn't.
We
pay
would be
anything.
paying for it, well, no, we would be paying for a teacher in that spot if we
No.
could find one.
But I
Student
mean,
teaching
the
is
student
different.
teacher, if we had a student teacher, we normally wouldn't be
No.
giving them anything.
No, but we'd be paying that
But
teacher
we
that they're
get
filling the
help.
void of.
Essentially, you get help.
But you wouldn't be making them teacher of record either.
In the other way.
So,
Well, we wouldn't be out anything financially.
no, because if you could find the spot, you'd be paying.
Paying them the
You'd
minimum
be
or
paying that
whatever
person.
year they're on.
So if you would if you would add a year 0 to the schedule and just knock it down to whatever,
That's what we gotta come up with, is
Yeah.
something like that, yeah. Whether it's long-term sub-pay rate or something.
Would that have-
We came up with a couple of different scenarios. We didn't know what to.
Would that
Just making
bring your
some stuff up.
median score down?
It's a good question.
Yeah, so in your teacher accountability component, you know, and I don't know that there's so many things.
Well, I don't know if they'll get to count yet because they're not,
Well, if you're paying them like a teacher,
well, I mean, they don't have a certificate though.
Oh, that's just, wow.
That's a question we never thought of. That's a good question, Jill. Something you'd have to ask state, do we have to count them towards that?
Mm-hmm.
Or not? Would we count them until, or wouldn't you count them until they actually got their certificate? That would be my guess, is
Yeah.
you wouldn't start counting them until they had the certificate. Because really, you're only paying them during their student teacher time.
Mm-hmm.
And what rate are you paying them of that? So 60 days to 80 days, 12 weeks to 16 weeks is what we said.
It's semester.
So it's not saving the full,
USD does student teaching for a whole year?
yeah. And when they gotta go place them in wherever and they don't have they have living costs that they gotta do, sometimes that's hard.
So, and then would this would be across the board, every student teacher then from now on, we would have to do it, or can we select? if we
Regular
have
Two different
student
to-
teacher
options.
permit
okay.
versus advanced student teacher permit.
That's why, yeah.
And would you ever get one if your neighbors are gonna pay just a student teacher permit? Well, I don't wanna go student teach in Parkston, why not? Well, cause I can go to those 3 other schools and they're gonna pay me.
$4,000, $5,000.
Well, yeah, right, that's what I was getting at. If you have the 2 different classifications and we have an opening, then we can pay the higher amount. Whereas if we didn't have the opening,
You'd be
we
paying
wouldn't,
something else.
we wouldn't
yeah.
have to pay.
Yeah.
But you still might have to pay something because Johnny down the road might be paying something to get them.
Well,
Otherwise, they'd never
we
get
don't
placed here.
Need to get a student teacher, do we?
No.
Unless you're trying to get.
Unless you can't fill a
Hopper.
position.
Well, that, but even if I always called it doing due diligence. I mean, us as a school district, somebody gave me a chance. You know, somebody gave Craig a chance some way back when. You know, and now if we're gonna get into this situation where I still need a chance, but he's paying me to get the chance and you're not paying me to get the chance,
I'll go with them.
I'd rather go there if I could and get the chance. you know.
And what's that worth, if that's worth it?
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, I don't want to get in a situation where we have to, you know, if there's a situation where, I don't know, are we required to take so many students, or do we just,
No, you don't have to take
We
student
don't.
teachers at all.
but I mean, it's a good practice, and obviously we want to.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get to the situation where you have 20 student teachers that we're going to have to pay, you know, in 1 year,
Exactly.
so.
Yep.
But the only time you pay them is when you don't have a position filled and you're trying to fill
No,
it.
That's one way, that's the
That's one
advanced
way.
one.
We're talking about paying student teachers just to come and student teach, because that's what the neighbors are going to be doing.
Like Omaha.
Do we want to do that? That's the student teacher permit versus the advanced student
Yeah.
teacher permit.
Two different rates too. Joe. I mean,
Advanced
who
is-
knows? There's just no
Advanced is
guidance.
teacher of record. You have to because you don't have anybody. You can take the student teacher and put them in the position. Just the student teacher, like Matt is suggesting, yeah, it's good practice and you're being a good steward for education. And yes, we will take you, but we're not going to pay you.
When I did an internship, I didn't get paid. I paid the school to get the internship done.
Yeah, well, times have changed.
That's crazy.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but
Yeah, I don't, wow.
We've had more student teachers too, and the principals aren't in here, but I remember my first time, we didn't have very many student teachers very often. The last few years, we've had more than we've ever probably
Yeah.
had.
Yeah, haven't we?
And I
feel
don't know
like
if
there's
that's
always
because of,
been a couple.
I don't know if that's because of DW placing them here and trying to get them here, but we had a bad experience with one a while back, and then we kind of didn't have as many for a while. Now we're getting more all of a sudden. Because what do we have? We have 2 this year. And I think we had 2 last year for sure.
Well, I mean, couldn't you just like, if you don't, I get like the whole, why don't we let the people who need them use them? And, I mean, that sounds terrible, but, you know what I'm saying?
If they have the openings.
Yeah, if they have the openings and they need
advanced.
to use it, why, then that makes sense to me, but I guess I wouldn't wanna pay someone to do their student teaching experience. I don't really want them in my kid's classroom if they're not supposed to be, if I can have somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess I don't know why we would do that.
How often do we hire on student teachers?
How often do we hire on a student teacher? I don't remember the last one. Probably
Well,
none.
So we're paying them to go
Yeah.
someplace else.
You know, and that's just a regular student teacher, right? Who, way back, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, you know, you had a student teacher, had an opening, they applied. You know, how often did you hire that person? You know, that's,
I can't remember a student
it's
teacher
varying
that we
degrees.
kept.
Quite honestly, there's nothing to really guide that practice, to guide that decision-making, other than, okay, what's the candidate pool?
True.
And if you had 2 or 3 other people and you had some experience there, you'd probably take a hard look at that. But there again, I mean, we all started at some point in time in the profession.
Do you have the opportunity to interview those students before they come, or we get what we get?
No, there's some conversation and dialogue going on with those placement offices and the regional and the private systems as to, hey, we have this person. They send us their information, you know, there's some conversation going on.
Does the actual teacher have to agree to
Yeah.
accept this
Mhm.
student
Yeah.
too?
Yeah. They have to agree to take it on. And some of the schools get a student teacher, if you accept one, some schools pay them, some
The
schools
cooperating
don't.
teacher
Yeah.
might get a stipend.
Yep. Yeah, some do and some don't, depending on where the kid's coming from too. That's all different by school. There's a lot of different regulations by school, how many days the student teacher could get paid as a sub and stuff like that. Some of them don't allow them to get paid at all. Some of them allow them to get paid up to 10 days worth during the time of their student teaching and so forth.
And that used to be prohibitive in the state
Yeah.
of South Dakota, paying student teachers in general at all, other than short-term things like 5 to 10 days maybe. But now this is game on, and and those schools in which they're coming from, whether they're out of state, in state, it's still up to that institution to say, we don't allow our student teachers to become teachers of record. Their student teaching experience is going to be traditional. They will have a cooperating teacher in that room. We will provide a college mentor or professor that will guide them through that process. And then if that's the case, then, you know, that's the institution of what they're getting their degree from says yay or nay. But in the state of South Dakota now, because of this administrative rule change, there isn't any South Dakota schools that are gonna say, well, we don't allow that. Because you want people in your teacher ed program?
Well, I think the biggest thing too with the state is the reason he made the comment, Omaha coming to USD, taking away our teachers. So the state's trying to get a way to keep the teachers here in South Dakota
Yeah.
rather than going somewhere else and teaching. And if the out-of-staters are gonna come and say, we'll pay you this to come there, are they gonna come back to South Dakota or are they gonna stay in Nebraska?
It's pretty hard to compete with a school that size.
Yeah.
That school
Well, just
district in
anywhere,
Omaha.
I'm just saying anywhere.
I mean, who's gonna compete with that? Sioux Falls probably can't even compete with that.
But that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to keep,
Well, then maybe we should.
So the question that lies before us is,
It's gonna be very nice.
you know, what do you, because I don't have any guidance for you guys. And us as superintendents, we're all sitting here scratching our head too, because we have a neighboring school district. They decided to make the student teacher in math, going to put them as the teacher of record, and they're gonna pay that person 90% of a base rate salary. So that individual is going to make whatever 90% of their base rate, and when they complete the process and they get their degree, then they'll move them to 100% of their
And hire
base,
them.
of their base teaching pay and hire them.
That makes sense to me.
Yep, absolutely.
But
that's the
not just
advanced.
having a student teacher that you pay and that they're, and you have another teacher with them teaching them. I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me, but.
And, would this come back to having them, you know, sign an, I guess, a contract? I don't know if that's the right word, or an agreement that they would be here more than 1 year. Is that a?
Yeah, if you hire them.
Right.
Yep. And that's certainly something that you can put in policy.
But then how often do we have openings for a teacher that has that?
I'm just saying, if it was the teacher
Yeah.
of record. Right.
Oh,
and
sure,
They
sure.
were the teacher.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, at least, it just still fills that hole for 1 year at least, but if we'd like to get it for longer, that would be.
I mean, it's awesome if you needed to fill a spot.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do
Yeah.
it. If you need to fill
Yeah.
a spot, that makes total sense
That
to
part makes
me.
a lot of sense, a lot more than the other.
But the other part doesn't.
It's the other part's trying to keep them in South Dakota in my
I
eyes.
see,
by
I
the
get
state,
that.
Rather than them going outside.
And I don't
I mean, pretty much
I
you'd
don't
have
have
to
any
make,
heartburn
it's
either
like
way.
making new teacher positions. It's like creating a new position is essentially what you're doing.
A new line item, budget line item, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Where
depending
the
on
other
how
one's
much you
just-
wanted to pay them.
I mean, if you're paying them 90%, it's a line item.
No, that's
Well,
the
no,
advance.
That's
Oh.
advanced.
So what are
That's
you
the teacher
suggesting
of
it would be?
record. I don't
for-
have a suggestion.
That's where we don't know what
So is
everyone else.
this gonna happen for sure, these criteria?
We can
It is-
decide.
This is a done deal.
But we can decide whether we could do one or the other, or both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When do we have to decide by?
Well, we have a conversation again in personnel situations that we probably need to have in executive session because it's involving some current personnel
Sure.
to give you some clarity on as to the necessity of what do we got to do here to make a decision.
Okay.
So,
All right. Next one.
I know it's perplexing, guys, but I don't, I guess we'll take that student teacher pay and the same token and come back and address that letter F, when we come out of a conversation behind in an executive session. Because it's really involving some personnel here that we gotta be careful about what kind of
So does this
conversation.
pass the legislature?
Excuse me?
Did this pass the legislature?
Does this pass the legislature?
It
Was
is.
it passed?
This is administrative rule, which administrative rule is they do not need the Board of Education because it's administrative rule. They can make that decision. They can make that change. So,
So our new person in the education department made that decision?
no, the Board of Education made that decision.
Which
So
is-
the 7-member board that passed the social studies standards, as well as this, new rule changes, there's nobody that disputed this because of the situation that school districts are finding themselves in of having the necessity to put student teachers in positions of making them teacher of record because there's nobody else to do the job,
Period.
period. So that's,
And then they added the other part on to just pay the student teacher.
it was defined in this administrative rule, the two different pathways. So,
Is there gonna be a list out there that potential student teachers will look at and say, this school's gonna, just for a student teacher, that this school district will pay X and this one won't pay
yeah, good
X?
question. And that would come out of the teacher replacement programs in any of the regional systems and or private schools. And that particular student who is getting ready to student teach, where do you want to student teach, John? I don't know. Who around here pays student teachers? Well, I don't know. This one maybe. Or let me find out for you. Who does and who doesn't. Well, I think I'd rather go to that one versus this one. So is there an actual list? Not that's going to be generated per se to distribute to the teacher ed placement programs across the state. I don't think so. That's not the intent. But kids are going to know.
Yeah.
They're the teachers placing them, the professors placing them.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we'll talk about, we're gonna table, let's
Yeah.
talk about it in
Yeah.
executive session, okay. All right, let's
So
see
you're on to
here.
G.
Staff, so this is discussion item G, staff request to use personal days in lieu of work days. The school board will consider requests by certified staff to utilize their personal days rather than work the 3 contract days due to the missed days in January.
So we added 3 days for the staff because of January. Their request has been asked, or they asked the question of, can I take my personal days rather than come back to work? If they had personal days left.
So your personal days.
So they
How
lose
you
their
want.
personal day and their sick day is counted as both,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't have to pay the substitute for it. I mean, there's no sub.
It's their day, right?
That's an
They can use
advantage
it
there.
however they want, right?
Yeah, but you didn't bring them back to take a personal day. You brought them back because they missed 3 days of work. Because if we were in those days, they would have been working if we were in school.
Is there things for them to do?
Is this certified and classified, Mr. M, or just certified?
This request was made by Teed Certified.
Yeah.
In other words,
Is there stuff? Yeah,
but
you know.
superintendents, do they want certain reports on a certain day to finish up the school year, Mr. M?
Yeah, I mean, there were certain things that we were going to have them do academically, but really it was going to be a lot of it in their own classrooms, finishing things up, tightening things up. You know, what was the accountability other than, you know, here's a list of to-do things that you need to get done? Probably not. You know, but to Craig's point, is there an advantage of allowing them to do that? You know, one, they didn't take it during the year, which didn't cost us any money because then we would have had to get a sub, you know, in that situation. And then the other one is if they burn some up at the end of the year, they just don't carry that over into next year. So, which they do have the ability to do. Couple, what, 2 days? What can they carry, Craig, from 1 year to?
Personal days, not.
They can't carry anything over?
They turn into sick days
Oh, that's right.
because of the inclusive factor. They get 10 days. Of those 10 days, they can use 3 of them for personal, and the other 7 then they would only have left for sick or family sick. But if they don't use any of the 10, then they all turn into sick days the next year. The most personal days anybody can have in 1 year is 3.
The
For
only
certified and classified
downside
staff.
of allowing it is then every year people are gonna wanna use their personal days at the end of the school year.
If we have a situation like this. Your
Well, if there's-
comment at the, your comment at your business manager's meeting was what? The allowance of this?
So there's some schools that don't allow a teacher, period, the last 2 weeks of school to take a personal day.
But in this situation, because of the weather, some were, some weren't.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember. It's all over the board because of the factor of some of the schools just already have this in place that they can't do it. So they continue this on because this is the end of the last 2 weeks of school. You know, some of them are allowing it, some of them aren't. I mean,
Allowing it because it was weather related.
and they just don't have that policy, which we don't have that power. We don't follow that practice. It's not a policy, it's a practice that they follow. The principals and superintendents don't let them take in the last 2 weeks or after a certain day or whatever. I mean, everybody's different. And it's all across the board, and some are allowing and some aren't.
I have no preference.
Well, I would say if there's a day that you had planned that you were gonna do some development or something administrative wise, there's no reason then to say that, okay.
You need.
Not that, yeah.
You need to be
this
here.
Oh,
day for
yeah,
sure.
if it's like that, I
Right.
agree, they
That
have
was
to
my
be there
question.
for them.
If there was something that needed to be
And
done.
part of that is we're talking about some school improvement approaches there, but that does not include everybody either. That's select few people that are gonna be on those school improvement teams.
Sure.
It's not a collective approach.
Yeah, if it's
But I-
education or if it's something like that, they should have to be here, I agree with that. Scott, you have thoughts?
I mean, if they have personal days, I mean, I don't. hold my heart, but I guess They have.
It's theirs, yeah, they can
As
choose.
long as you get their stuff done.
Yeah, as long as, exactly, they have their work done and it's whatever. Okay. Do you need a motion to approve that, or are we good? It's just a discussion item?
I
Okay.
give that directive, so.
Okay, so we'll move to discussion item H. Discuss preliminary 23-24 budget. The school board will discuss the proposed budget numbers for the 23-24 school year.
And by codified law, we have to give you something by the May board meeting. This does have the salary changes in it, but that's pretty much it. I mean, we don't have all the capital outlay projects lined up in there. This is basically last year's budget with the salary changes for the personnel that we knew of at the time. Okay? So there's not a lot of discussion.
100,000-foot view.
Yeah, and one thing though that you could look at, I guess, is the budgeted and the actual for the 21-22 school year is updated in there to see the variance and the difference between what was budgeted and what was actually expensed that year. That is correct and current and up to date. 22-23, obviously we can't give you the actual amounts yet because the school year's not over. But that was the 23 budget, and then 23-24. If you go down those line items, a lot of them, the only ones that changing are the ones that had salaries attached to them or their benefits. So, yeah.
Anybody have questions?
Is there items that weren't counted in this list, in this column? Because, I mean, it doesn't seem to be,
No, it usually isn't.
well, we're only, what,
Well, there's the contracted bus services. I don't have that line, 6,500, because I don't have all the activities totaled up
okay.
type of thing. You see that
I
one
was
right
just
there?
looking at the difference between.
That
those
one
two.
right there.
Oh, okay, oh, there it is.
Okay, that's one of them. That's probably the differential right there,
Yep.
which is 60,000, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those contracted bus services, those are actually the, all the activities for, all the FFA, basketball, football, wrestling, FCCLA,
Every activity.
every activity. Just haven't added that up and built that
I was
in
just trying to make sure.
because a lot of these come from parts over here in the budget.
I was
Part of a
impressed.
spreadsheet that I haven't totaled
I was
yet.
impressed at first, it was all wrong.
Looking good.
So Craig, how good's your memory? If you go back to 20, 21, 22 on budgeted and actual, you go
Yep.
back to 23, 21 executive administration.
23, Executive administration.
Follow that
Okay,
across.
got it, yep. Why does that go down?
30,000.
Compared to the budget? That's because of the sped director portion, okay? We budget the full, I've always budgeted the full amount on the, in case you don't end up taking it out of
Mhm.
sped percentage-wise, but that's why that is always less. Because then what happens at the end of the year, the actual amount, 85% of it comes out of general fund, and the other 15% comes out of the sped fund. So that 15% is really budgeted twice, general fund and the sped.
Got
Does
it.
that help?
Yes.
The negotiation services, was that for the lawyer that we're not using anymore?
Yes, yep. And really the difference, you look at combined activities down there too, that's not updated. And that's probably because of the travel portions as well, some of that. And equipment and different things like that, I haven't got to that part yet. So I'm sorry it doesn't look as good as you wanted it.
That was.
It's like I said, it's the showing that it's a work in progress and we're working on it.
So you don't see any issues?
No, not right now. It's always that, I mean, you look at the, and here's another thing is I don't have maybe some of those title funds moved, depending, we gotta do some rearrangement with the ESSER funds and the title funds, depending on who ends up where. That stuff is not done yet either.
It's when the bodies are in the seats, then we
Yeah.
can take a look at the numbers in those programs and see where the money's gonna get directed. So it'll have an impact, so one way or the other.
Any other questions about that? Thank you, Craig. All right, we'll go to discussion item I, capital outlay improvements. The school board will finalize the remaining quotes for identified capital outlay improvement to be completed for the 23-24 school year.
The only thing that left was that vestibule carpet, and that was the carpet within the vestibule, the square footage, versus the particular mats that were quoted. So this was the difference. That wasn't, because we reduced the square footage in the vest on that whole component, that became essentially $11,000 number, where the mats were just shy of 4. One's permanent, one's not.
This is the permanent one.
This is permanent.
Yeah, this was the one we wanted. And you,
yeah,
you
I
got the
didn't-
change
yeah.
square footage.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
because this
now
was like
reflects
25 or something,
It was
wasn't
like 29.
Yeah, okay.
But now it reflects the
Okay.
exact.
And it's just putting them inside between the two doorways, correct?
Yeah,
In all those
It's,
spots, yeah.
it's just in the vestibules.
Mhm. Okay, and you need a motion to approve this to move forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, are we good with this? Yeah,
That's something decent.
yeah.
Okay.
Scott, good? Okay,
Thank you.
I need a motion to approve.
So,
Moved by Paul, seconded by Turner to accept the quote from Innovative, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, innovative.
Innovative.
Okay, for the carpet in the vestibules, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
I
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
All right, we will move to action items.
Financial report.
Yeah, are they here to present? Do we want to wait? Is there a certain time?
No, I got an idea. but-
Okay. Do we
But I'd
have?
say you do this first.
Okay, and then we'll check, okay. So action items, A is approved financial report. Hold on a second, we'll get to that. You just screwing me up, you're back and forth.
Should be.
Approved financial report, school board will review the April financial report for discussion and approval.
Any questions on that?
feel good about the general fund.
Yeah.
Looks like it's pretty decent.
Now, I did, if you notice, I did do the title reimbursement, so we were up to date on title reimbursements now. As of, what would that have been? March 30th.
Sure.
Any expenditures through March 30th?
Prior to that, we hadn't asked for any, had we?
No, not for title,
Did we do the whole year? Did we have a day of lunches free the whole year, or was that partially way?
Not the whole year, no. We
So
haven't
we'll-
been doing that the whole year.
Will we have to start that way this next year?
We'll probably have to start that way next year too, yes.
Is it just one day we're doing, or two? Two, Monday, Friday, or what is it?
Monday, Tuesday. Because remember, because of preschool purposes, because they weren't here on Fridays, we moved it to
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday.
So
Okay.
we've been blessed by the state on our fund on this yet. As
For
far
the, no, because they won't see it until the annual report gets done. So next year, we'll probably have to have a corrective action plan of how to get that down. Now, I did look at a couple of Lennox School District, for instance, over the COVID year and the extra federal reimbursements. I noticed their lunch account last year went up $150,000 as well. And their ending balance from what would that have been, 21 to their ending balance of 22.
So we might not be the only school district.
No. Now, the difference in Lennox is a little bit bigger, and what their actual fund balance was and what it is now, if it is still below the percentage, I don't know, but I did see that in Lennox's information.
And you still have some things you're gonna pay for, right, out of this fund, or where?
For the food service, well, okay, so some of the salaries for the custodians will come out of there at the end, yes. Some of my salary comes out of there, just like his sped director. We take 10%, I believe, is all. And then the custodial, for their cleaning hours, I take the number of days of the school year, and 3 custodians working, or 2 custodians, or whatever,
Helps a
working
little
that hour
bit, yeah.
a day, and those transfers will be done on June 30th, yes.
Okay.
So were you thinking of any equipment, Craig? Still be
We've replaced a lot of the stuff. I mean, the biggest thing is probably a dishwasher next, and maybe we just need to bite the bullet and spend the 30 grand, and 20 to 30 and get a new
Yeah,
dishwasher.
like, why not at this point?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that will be on
I
our,
don't think it'll cost that much, because I put one in before I came, and it
Well-
was 12.
yes, I know, but the one we had when they remodeled was the Cadillac at the time. So to replace that one in our,
Had you gotten a quote previously?
yeah,
You did,
And it
yeah,
was
we
that
did.
much?
it was over 20.
It was a lot, yeah, because you were just went comparable to what we had.
Yes, I
with the
told them
upgrade,
compared
yeah.
to the upgrade
Yeah.
of what we had, and the guy told me, you had the Cadillac at the time.
Well,
Not
it's not
the
that it's not
Volkswagen.
functional.
No, that's the problem, is it still works, and the only thing the guy told me repair-wise last time is he says, if your motor goes out, you're gonna have to find a rebuilt one, because they don't, make that repair anymore.
So like, how long would that take to get it that
It
happened?
says, it's whether you find one and stuff like that, yeah.
No, I mean like to replace it, like to get
Oh,
a
to
brand new
replace
one,
it?
to bring a brand new one in if something breaks and you can't fix it.
Oh, I would, probably a month or 2, yeah, it'd
That'd
be
be
a
a
while.
big deal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of hand washing.
I was gonna say.
Yep.
Oh,
We might be
no.
buying some paper plates during that time frame if that were to happen. From the ladies,
Okay.
I would guess, I don't know.
That might be a reason to replace it in my mind, but
Give us the numbers next week.
yeah,
Yeah, I could look into that, yep.
that would
One
be
thing I thought
terrible.
of, that floor scrubber that we bought, can any of that, part of that, since you use it in the lunchroom, come out of that at all, or kind of like your salary, I mean,
Shane, question.
It's a good
Yeah,
question.
that's a good question, I'd have to ask, I'm guessing no.
okay,
Because we can't do the air conditioner, because we asked that question.
sure.
We can't do part of the HVAC project because this is a little different though, because that's the building and your actual structure,
Mhm.
where this is a item.
Right, and it is.
And we do
used part-
use it in there more frequently than, I
Every
mean,
day?
just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
question.
I'll ask on that one.
Okay,
So you need to remember your financial-
yep, so we just need a motion to approve, please?
Moved by Leishner, seconded by Turner. Any other discussion?
Have we seen all our taxes, Craig? Just curious.
Well, this is the big month taxes for the second one. So, we didn't see a big amount last month, if you look, So this May one will be the big one, again, the second big one.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it was Leishner and Turner, right?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
We'll move to action item B, which is approve classified certified and administration contracts for 23-24 school year.
For contracts and work agreements. Administrative, certified contracts, and classified work agreements. That's the actual titles.
Okay. Just need a motion to approve because we've been through all of that
Yep.
already, so.
And they've all been returned.
Okay, yeah. So moved.
That are
How's it?
moved by Nebel and seconded by Prohl. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, C is approve SDHSAA resolution for membership, proposed amendments to the Constitution and the Board of Director positions open. The school board will vote on the proposed SDHSAA resolution for membership, constitutional amendments, and personnel to sit on the Board of Directors.
So your resolution is it for you to compete in any or the district the high school to compete in any activities association, either sub-level, region events, or state events. You have to be a membership of the activities association, so there's that. And then you have the election ballots for those board of directors positions. You have Randy Hartman of the Pierce School District, who is running unopposed in one element, so I suspect you could vote for him. In the large group element, the District 3 representative, there's actually 3 particular individuals on the ballot. Drew Bunkers of Del Rapids High School, Adam Shaw of Madison High School, or Jeff Sheehan of Hamlin High School for the Division 3 secondary principal that sits on that board of directors. So
Do any of you two know these people now?
I know who they all are. I actually know Mr. Shaw from Madison. When he was actually a superintendent for a couple of years in Marion. So, I mean, I got to know him a little bit, and he's well established in the Madison system. So Drew Bunkers is in Del Rapids as well. You know, their bios were in there.
Sure.
You know, I think they would all be great assets.
You're probably looking for a little help.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know any of them. I mean, other than what you just stated.
To me, based on the experiences they have in their coaching realm and their administrative realm, I mean, Mr. Shaw is with somebody I would recommend, so.
So we need a motion to approve those.
Shaw? And then vote yes for the 2 amendments, correct?
Yes.
For both, because there's only the 2.
Yeah, they're just the 2 amendments on there, and that wasn't, the recruitment process, it basically is tightening up the shit on from people, preventing high schools from calling, somebody's got a good kid down the road and said, hey, you want to come here? I mean, it's going to get a little bit more dicey and punitive if you want to do that. And then the other amendment is just an ejection aspect and clarifying if a coach got ejected and or a student, so.
Okay, just clarifying to make sure that I had it right. So I have Randy Hardman from Pierre,
Yeah.
Adam Shaw from Madison for those 2 respective positions, and then yes for both amendments 1 and number 2.
Yes, sir.
And then approving the school board
The
resolution
membership.
authorizing the membership of the
Yes.
South Dakota High School Activities
Yep.
Association. So I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Moved by Leishner,
I'll second that.
second by Pro. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, this action item D is to approve 23-24 negotiated agreement. The school board will consider approving a negotiated agreement between the district and Parks and Education Association.
Pending the conversation that is yet to come, I don't know that you can do that as of
Yeah.
yet.
Well, so we'll have to do that when we come back
Yeah,
out.
exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right, so we'll table that. So we'll move to action item E, approve comprehensive special education plan.
Yep.
The school board will consider approving the comprehensive special education plan required by the DOE for the 23-24 school year.
It's a formality. We do it every year,
Oh.
so.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Pro and second by Neville to approve the special education comprehensive plan. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, so,
If you want to address them, you can, I guess.
hi. Share with me why you're here tonight.
I told you guys you were gonna have to talk once I asked you questions. That was my promise. But I know it's brought up in negotiations about having a stipend for an assistant FFA advisor. I know we talked a little bit about it. So we're just here to kind of show our support and thank you guys for taking the time to discuss it and consider the options. So if you have any questions or anything for us, or this is Nicole Roth, the person who's been our acting one, and then several officers and involved members. But obviously we missed that part. But
That's okay. It's
just
right
wanted
at the
to thank
beginning
you
usually.
regardless for taking the time to consider it. So
Mhm. Okay, all right. Thank you. We'll be discussing some things in executive session, correct, about that, so. Yes. Yeah. You guys, anybody else have anything they want to say? No?
they're nice.
You're just not here for moral support, are you?
Not even how awesome she is? Like, you don't want any of
Pretty
them?
awesome.
Pretty awesome.
So this assistant that you're talking about, or we're talking about, can you give me an idea of how that person helped any one of you this past year?
Yeah, so.
Kids?
Yeah.
Kids.
There's kids, yeah, sorry. I
I'm throwing the kids under the bus.
Other than,
Emily, there you go.
Yeah.
Come on.
So we have a very large FFA, and a part of FFA is CDE practices. Each CDE team has 3 to 4 people on it, and each CDE team gets an hour of practice a week. Without Nicole, Ackerman would have had to take that on all by herself. Miss Roth would have had to take that on all by herself. And Miss Roth has helped a lot of our teams, including Best Science, who got to nationals, and we needed Nicole for that. Nicole is very knowledgeable, and so is Ackerman, but we need help. We need help.
How many CDE teams are there?
roughly 13, 14, and we had 13 of the 14.
And how long do you have for an hour every week? How long does that go? All year?
We start practices in January and leading up to state convention, so the minimum amount is 10 hours. We start 10 weeks before state
Okay.
convention, so.
So when does this happen?
In the
Before
spring,
school, after school, during school?
it's usually after school, or sometimes before school. A lot of our students are highly involved in athletics, so a lot of them are like after athletic practice or before school.
So how do you feel about having this extra stuff going on? I mean, do you kids want it? Do you want to go to competition?
Very much so.
They aren't here to scare you.
Anything? Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
I guess from my side thing, Mr. Oak opened up a new door for us for land judging in the fall. Kind of starting off the year, we took me as a senior, and then we had a whole bunch of 8th graders, and we got to travel and get to land judge for the first time in forever.
What does that mean?
So we kind of like we look at soils, determine types of erosion, water. We went to Westington Springs as our first competition. We get to judge as a team, go to different holes and look at all the soil.
That's cool.
I guess the way I look at it is, ever since FFA started, back when my sister was on the founding board, I guess FFA started when we only had 25 members. Now we're pushing 60 every year. We've grew. Every year I've been an officer. That's our main goal, is to keep adding kids. Well, if we keep adding kids, that's a lot for one teacher to take care of 60-some students. So like we said, we have hour practices, not just in the spring. In the fall, there's also LDEs where we have hour practices. And I think that FFA definitely is the biggest organization that, other than sports, down in the high school. So I guess why not add another advisor?
Another thing is we also do SAEs, and we can apply for awards for those. I applied for award for a proficiency award, and in SAEs you can do anything, and a lot of knowledge is needed and a lot of experience is needed, and all 3 of our advisors for the year, Mrs. Roth, Miss Ackerman, and Miss Olson, helped me to do that, and that's not something one teacher can do. We need everybody to help us out.
Emily, what's the SAE stand for?
Supervised agricultural event, something you do by yourself. I sell succulents. Some kids work on the farm. Other kids work in PFC, the drugstore, Dimmick Dairy. There's a lot of things you can do. Some kids paint tractors. There's so many different things we need so much help with. And students can't do that by themselves. And one ag teacher can't do that by themselves.
How many kids went to state?
We have a qualification we have a set of standards that the officers set for qualification. So we had 50 kids participate in CDEs, and we brought 40 of them met our chapter standards to attend state convention this year.
And how many seniors will graduate?
14.
Cool. Anybody have anything else? Did you just say don't look at me? I think you did. She said don't look at me. Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for,
guys.
yeah, thanks for sharing with us. Appreciate you guys taking the time to come and talk to us.
So we're at the end of our meeting essentially, so if there's some personnel stuff that we need to talk about in executive session, so you don't get to stay for executive session, sorry. So you're free to go.
Thank you.
You did well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, see you later.
Okay, good luck. Have fun. I'll see you at the concert.
I thought maybe
Thank
you were
you.
gonna present. See ya, have a good night.
I was supposed to have him back.
I like
She
that.
talked to
I
me,
wanted
yeah.
to